Hey everyone, I'm Brian Austin Green.
I'm Shauna Burgess.
And I'm Randy Spelling.
And you are listening to Oldish, an iHeartRadio podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to Oldish. We're going to continue our conversation here with Shannen. Enjoy.
I was curious when you talked about your strength and how then is nothing versus now. If you could orchestrate it any way you wanted it, what would you like to see the trajectory of society for women and strength, and what would that be?
Wow. Jesus. You guys ask hard
Just
questions.
a light question.
My show, I'm like, hey,
welcome
so
to
how are you
Oldish.
doing today?
I mean, listen, you can create it how you want it. You have a vision. I'm curious to know what that would be.
I think we're close to being there in a lot of ways. And the one thing I don't want women to lose is that it's okay to still be feminine. It's okay to still, be a woman. That's all right. I will never be the girl who will go on a date. And if a guy does not open my door for me, my car door, I'm not going on the date, because that says something about the way that you were raised. It says something about the way that you're going to treat me. And it's just not how I want to be treated. And granted, I had to go through a lot of bad stuff in order to get to that place. But so when I think about women and where they should be, it's embrace who you are, because we're beasts. Women are beasts. Like, they give birth. The kind of things that women do is insane. And I think I didn't need to be so outwardly strong back then. There's a quiet strength that I find to be much more beautiful and much more impactful now that I didn't realize when I was younger. I thought that I had to shout it at the top of my voice. So
you were also in a different time where you kind of did have to shout it a little bit more,
Yes.
So I think give yourself grace on that too. I think you absolutely had to be the person that you were, and sure, it came with lessons, but the quieter version of that didn't work back then. We have that opportunity now to have as you say, the quieter version of that strength. But y'all had to yell back then. It was a different time.
We did. So just for women to be equal in every respect that they can be equal. And that doesn't mean that a woman's going to be able to bench press 500 pounds or however much, the same as some guy, but to embrace your own strength and use that in your life. For women in politics to be taken as seriously as men and to be heard as well as men is very important to me. Mm-hmm. Whichever side of the aisle that you're on, Republican, Democrat, Independent, doesn't matter to me. Just for women to be heard. Again, I think that we're getting there. I think that we've grown leaps and bounds. And definitely in my business, it's very different. But I do think that we right now have a tendency to we're jumping on everything. It's very much like this cancel culture, which is really horrifying to me and so stupid that you can't have a different opinion. Everybody, we're living in everybody gets a trophy.
I agree.
Like, I'm sorry, but not everybody does get a trophy. That's just not how life works.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to accept that and try harder next time.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Everyone I'm probably going to get canceled for saying all of this.
No, I don't think so.
No trophies for you.
I think you're saying what a lot of people think. I think more and more people are bringing that up now. Like, we've had this cancel culture for a while. And now more people are speaking up like, hey, what do you mean? Like, take a step back for a second. This doesn't make sense.
Slow down.
The two things can be true at the same time. Your opinion is not a fact. Like, whatever it is, people are really trying to actually stand up to cancel culture now, which I think is great. Everything. It's when the pendulum
swings so far in extreme.
Yeah.
It's the extremes. Yeah. That's what really kills me, is why do we always have to go to extremes? And I guess we have to go there because history has shown us that until we go to the extreme, we can't find the
middle.
balance,
The middle,
right?
yeah.
The middle.
Yeah.
One hope that we get past that.
Mm.
Well, look, yeah, I mean, looking at women's rights, it was so extreme in not being there that, of course, now it's got to go extreme to the other side to find
Right.
them.
Mm.
But I mean, there were a few stories. There have definitely been a few things that I've heard during it all where it's been like, oh, I think you're just reaching way too far on that opinion and that judgment.
Yeah, some things are obviously no-brainers, right? You hear it and you're like, okay, that's yeah.
Right.
And then there's certain things where it feels like there could just be a conversation. Could we actually talk about it? Because if people could talk about it, there could be learning. And if there's learning, there's understanding. There's
Right. We're not learning
thoughts.
anything by just canceling people.
Right.
Other
It's
than,
just like
other
you're
than don't make a
canceled.
mistake or you'll never work again. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
done.
I think things are changing. I think things, as you said, Shannon, in the industry are changing, especially for women. I do still think some of the old school players are still in power. And so it is difficult in many areas. But I think these younger generations have really got a better handle on it. And I think as they grow, they're checking us, they're checking adults, they're checking it's millennials. And what was the one before us?
Before
Does anyone boomers? Is it
No,
the boomers?
Boomers were in the 50s.
I don't know. Whatever. The older generations, they're putting us in check, with things going on. And I think we've got a little bit more time of the pendulum swinging and it going back and forth before it finds the middle. But it is nice to see, change happening in all different areas, politics, entertainment. You see people coming up in the world and you're like, okay, that person is truly a leader. That person can create change and they're young enough to be around for the next 30 years to do it.
No one's going to like everything someone does. It's impossible.
Right. Yes.
Vanilla ice cream may be my absolute favorite ice cream and yours may be strawberry. And that's okay. Should we fight over that? Should I try to cancel you because I think that you have something against me because I like vanilla ice cream or Randy likes chocolate? It becomes so stupid. Instead of engaging in a very calm, respectful conversation with someone that perhaps you can learn something. Maybe they will open up your thinking into bigger, better, or just different.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Instead,
so
we judge so harshly and we shut them down. And
I said this before that I feel like we're in a place right now where so many people are just stating opinions as facts. That it's so weird. It's like I have these conversations with people all the time, and it's like they feel this way, and so hey, that the truth just hurts, and I hear that all the time, and it's like that might be your truth, but that's not the facts of the situation. It's a totally different thing. But I think until people kind of find that common ground again and start, like you were saying, talking to each other and really listening and finding approaches where they can both learn from each other. Until we do that, it makes sense. We're just butting heads on everything. It's so sad to watch. In politics, it's insane when you get to a point where you feel like nothing is getting done because it's just everybody trying to win some battle that there really is no winning.
It's a circus. And instead of just defending your side and defending what is likely bias, ask a question.
Right.
Hey, you like strawberry ice cream? Tell
Why?
me what you like about
Yeah.
it. Strawberries. Did
Yeah.
you like those as a kid? How are the strawberries grown? Because when you start to look at the ingredients and how something's made, you get more understanding and you're like, oh, you know what? I still don't like strawberries. Like, Brian, you don't
But I
like
never thought about
tomatoes,
that.
but you could appreciate what it takes to grow a tomato, the hard work that it is when there's fields of tomatoes and people are picking it. And you know what I mean? There's
also, if you're going to be that adamant about your opinion or your belief or what you're protesting about or any of it, you better have done some research and you better know your facts. I mean, now, trying to cancel comedians.
For something they said 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Something that they say right
for
now.
being entertainers.
But
Yeah.
their job is to take controversial topics and make them funny.
Right.
Ricky Gervais does it. I think he's genius. Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, These guys are Jerry Seinfeld. These guys are all some of our best comedians we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And people are protesting them and doing this and doing that because they just don't like their brand of comedy. So don't watch it.
Right.
Right.
But
Right.
that is their job. Just like Richard Pryor was not politically correct
Right.
at all.
Right.
And nobody was canceling him back then.
Mm.
So I think the world is a little crazy at the moment. And so I'm going to just keep hiding out in my house.
I feel you.
Sometimes that just sounds like the way to go.
Right. A little something current that's going on that is, we're talking about things happening in the world and truth and facts and all the things, right? Did you hear about the AI photos that got released of Taylor Swift naked? But
Yes.
they were so realistic. They were so unbelievably real. These AI photos are just created of Taylor Swift naked, like scandalous photos. Whoever released them obviously probably made a ton of money. I don't know what happened. Again,
They're probably also going to be sued and lose a lot of money.
if they can find them. Like, that's all.
There's always a way.
I hope there is. But like, how terrifying is that when you're talking about checking facts, fake news, social media, all this? Like, now
And it's only
The
gonna get
beginning.
worse. All of our voices and faces, it's
I know.
all, you
Well,
know, when we sign into a phone and it takes our scan of our face and you're talking and it hears our voice. I mean, anyone can hypothetically do that if they know how.
It's terrifying. I know this is like such an
terrifying.
oldish conversation, like, oh my God, the AI
No,
is
it
coming
is.
up. Like, but it feels terrifying. I feel like my grandma, when she looked at me on Skype for the first time and couldn't understand that I was in a computer, like, I don't understand how this is going to play out for us. This feels terrifying for me.
It's also unbelievable. And I think that it's a really hard subject to only sit on one side of the fence for, because what AI is doing in the medical world is unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Agreed.
So,
Yes.
and even with tech that's healthy, tech that's good, AI, there is a place for it that's unbelievable. It's when you have a bad apple in the bunch that uses it improperly.
Mm.
That to me is what's bad. And look, we went on strike and AI was a big thing for actors. And do I think that we got the best deal as far as AI goes? Absolutely not. Of course not. But we also, people are losing their homes. After a while, you have to weigh out, do I want to keep fighting for this? Or do I want people to go back to work and have jobs? Because that's really important. So instantly saying AI is terrible, I can't say that. I would be horrified if somebody did that to my photos. But again, what it is doing in the medical world and in other fields is so astonishing that I can't say it's bad all the way around.
I get that. I completely agree with.
It's like
and feel
social
that.
media.
agree with
People
that.
always say that, like, oh, social media is terrible. And I always say to people, like, there's a use for it, that in connecting people in positive ways, that it is incredible what it's capable of doing. It just, people have figured out a way of using it in poor ways. And
Yeah, but you
unfortunately-
can fix that yourself too. Like, you don't have to follow certain people. You don't have to read all the comments. I do that now. If I know I'm putting out a episode that some people are not going to be very happy with, because the truth, which matters to me, is being put out there, but they're not going to want to hear that truth, I don't read those comments. I have a girl who goes on my Instagram and she deletes the negative ones that are usually bots and usually whatever.
Right.
When I put out a podcast that's my cancer doctors, I read every comment, because I know that those people are coming from the right place and they're wanting to connect, and they have questions that I'm hoping that I can answer. So we're all able to edit what we take from social media. We're perfectly capable. And as parents, even though I'm not a parent, but I've been a godmother to lots of kids, and I feel like I have 2 kids right now with Chris's kids, and granted, they're too young for social media. But you guys having kids, I think as a parent, that's up to the parent to to edit that social media and put those boundaries up, and also to raise a child hopefully secure enough with themselves that they're not letting a bully on social media or in school or anything of that nature tear them down.
Yeah, it's raising a child with discernment, because like you're saying,
Good word.
there can be negative things with AI. There can be tremendously positive things with AI. It's the polarity, and it's really having discernment of how you use that and how it's used that can either be great or not so great.
You grew up
I
and
guess
got
it's the
really
universe's
smart.
way of keeping
I
them.
know. Isn't it crazy? I look at him sometimes and it's like, what?
I know.
I want to be I want to be the little kid that I
Want to go back to 12 and wrestle with Shannon.
Oh my God. Did that just
I
come
bet
out
you
of
do.
Randy's mouth? It's so
Yeah.
cute.
Okay, so let's shift gears here, because I know people want to hear about this, and it's something that I'm very interested in and moved by, your journey with cancer. And I think even that word, even though it's so prevalent, hearing that, people can automatically clam up or tense up. And you've been such an incredible spokesperson with your journey with it. So for those who don't know or are listening, where are you now with that, and when did this start?
I mean, the first time I got diagnosed was back in 2015, 2015. Okay. So I did all the surgeries, I did chemo, I did radiation, I did all of that. And I went into remission around 2018. And in 2019, it came back, but it was breast cancer that had spread to my bones, and which is stage 4. Of course, with stage 4 comes the word terminal. There's no cure, but there are so many super cool things happening in the medical field, in particular with cancer, that I never look at it as terminal. I look at it as something that I'm just having to stay on a protocol for as long as humanly possible until there is a cure, or until there's a new med that's going to give me another 3 years, and then another 2 years, and then another 5 years, whatever it is. I also, I think that cancer has been one of the absolute best and one of the worst things to ever happen to me in my entire life. It changed me as a human being. It made me grow up in a totally different way. It made me look at life and relationships very differently. My values shifted, my priorities shifted. I feel much more clear and much more focused. And my strength is a different strength. Like we were talking about before, it's much more of a inner
quiet strength.
Yeah. And yet it's the worst, because, I'm very clear and honest. I woke up today and my back was hurting me, and I lost my mind for easily 15, 20 minutes, because I thought, this is what happens when the protocol stops working, is the cancer starts spreading and you feel it, and it starts eating at your bones and it hurts. And so I thought, oh my God, my protocol is not working and it's spreading, and I don't even know what the next protocol is. And I had a moment of being really, 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 really scared. So in that sense, it's the worst. I then have to remind myself that I've woken up with these pains before, because guess what? I'm oldish.
Yeah, you're right.
And that I've gone for scans and everything's been perfectly fine.
Anna has a really dark sense of humor. I saw a random clip of, I think it was Chris you were talking to, and you joked and said something about
my funeral.
Yeah, about your funeral and dying, and it just like hit me. I text her literally right
texted me.
away. I was like, you cannot like ever fucking say that again. Like, that's not fun. She was like, oh, I have a dark sense of humor. You know that. And it's like, I do know that,
But it was
but that's not
funny.
okay. It
It
what?
was funny. Because people
To you?
don't,
Okay. Well,
but people don't think about that. Like, do you want everybody that you've known in your life coming to your funeral, or do you want it to be with the people that meant the most to you, that love you and care about you the most?
right.
Right. So for me, it seemed like a very honest and raw conversation that I think everybody has to have at some point, because we're all going to die. We
Totally.
just
That
don't know
just,
when.
you know, I love you. So that thought is just, I don't like looking in that direction at all. That's just not
I
even
know. And I love you. Thank you for
that
that.
shouldn't even be like a part of.
But you have to have a sense of humor. You have to have a sense of humor. At some point, it feels, it can feel so heavy, and like everyone around you is tiptoeing around you,
Yeah.
that it's like being that self-deprecating human being. I did
Yeah.
it on Saturday Night Live
Mhm.
when I had the worst press in the world about me, and I went on there and I hosted, and all I did was make fun of myself. It's the same thing sometimes with cancer. Is I'm just trying to be self-deprecating so people don't feel as awkward around me.
Right.
Because what does that feel like? So for the people who don't
Isolating.
know, isolating,
Yeah.
like no one understands,
Or you can tell that nobody wants to talk to you about it. And so then you
Yeah.
feel like it's
like
the
they don't know
elephant in
what
the
to
room.
So like being
say.
put in like a glass box, and it's
Right.
like, let's be careful around her. And you're like, no, I'm still gonna. Somebody said to me the other day, well, I don't really know if you want to go horseback riding because your bones must be more fragile. So if you fall and you break something, and I thought, what? So that means that I'm supposed to wear, padding
Like in
around
a
my
bubble
body when
suit
I,
and
right.
right.
So that's what I mean by isolating, is that I think people want you to be so careful that you forget to live life. And I believe in doing the antithesis of that. Yes, granted, take care of yourself. But listen, if I want wine, I'm going to have wine. And if I want to stay up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't, because once again, I'm oldish. But if I want to, I'm going to do it.
What would you prefer from people around you then that would make the situation easier and more comfortable? Because
I think you just
I
treat
think people
someone
are
like
tiptoeing
normal.
around because they don't know and they don't want to make a mistake or
Right.
say the wrong thing or bring up an emotion that you weren't ready to have or weren't feeling. So they're concerned. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people go through this. A lot of people they go through what it is you're going through. And then it's like Al-Anon. There are a lot of people on the outside too that are thinking, God, I wish I had better tools. I wish I had a better understanding. So I'm not just like aimlessly cruising around. So what to you would be a much better experience from people around you?
Well, I mean, I think I'm very fortunate because most of the people in my life handle it perfectly well. Particularly now, we've been dealing with it long enough that the dialogue about it has been healthy and positive. There are some people that used to be in my life that no longer are, that perhaps didn't deal with it as well, and they didn't understand some of my personal choices, and didn't agree, and caused a lot of resentment and anger in them. I would say that the most important thing is to have an open dialogue with the person. Think about every single question that you would ever want to ask, and just ask it, so that your curiosity or your questions or your concern or whatever it is handled. You've got that. And it lets the other person know that that concern is there, and they get to tell you everything from their standpoint and what they're feeling, which is very, very, very important. And I think it allows both people to then move on in a very healthy way, where the cancer
The
person
silence
doesn't
is deafening.
feel like, exactly. So then you don't have that anymore. So that's my
Right.
number one thing, is to just have a conversation and be thoughtful with your questions.
Mm.
How yeah, how do you bottle your mindset? Because your mindset is pretty fantastic.
It's
Yeah, it's
amazing.
amazing.
Did you always have that from the beginning of this, or did that take some time, sort of waves of going through being scared, being upset, and then, bringing forth your sort of Shannon mindset?
I mean, I still go through the waves. Uh, it just depends on which thing I'm facing, because January of 2023, I had brain surgery, and that is extremely scary. There's the the one personal thing I value the most about myself is my brain, my intelligence, the way that I think, the way that I process information. So when you think about somebody cutting open your brain and going in there to remove a tumor, all that you can really think about is, I'm not going to be me anymore. My first thought was, I'm probably going to die. I didn't think I was going to live through that surgery. And then the second thing was, but if I did, I'm not going to be me. I'm going to be a much less version of myself. I'm not going to be able to process. I'm not going to be able to think. I'm not going to be able to be creative. I'm not going to walk. So I still go through waves. And that one, there wasn't a moment that I found strength until I woke up and looked at my doctor and said, "What's wrong with me?" And he said, "Nothing, you're fine." And I was like, wow, that did that renew my strength? Absolutely. Because I look at it and
Mm.
think, my God, if I can go through that, there's almost nothing I can't handle at this point in my life, particularly because I was going through a divorce or going through a breakup at the exact same time as brain surgery. So I think you just look at it as part of life. And I have so much faith that, for me, I don't want to say I've turned it over to God, because I really believe in medicine and I really believe in science.
Mm.
So I trust my doctors. Doesn't mean that I don't do a ton of research and stay on top of every single clinical trial that's out there, but I also do turn it over to God and really believe that this is all happening for a reason. And my time will not be up until I accomplish the things that I'm supposed to accomplish, that have nothing to do with acting, that have
Mm.
everything to do with the cancer world and making things better and easier for cancer patients, and more clinical trials and all of that. So when you think that you have, and listen, it might be delusional, who knows, but when you think that there's a higher purpose, when you think that, when you're driven by, okay, I'm here to do more, I'm here to do more, it keeps your strength up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your higher purpose.
Oh, well,
Really.
I haven't reached it yet. So
Well,
knock on wood
it's a
that I find it.
Thank you
process.
for sharing it.
It's an unfurling process, right? Is
Yes.
it's happening. You're in process. I know you have more to go, and I can't wait to see what all more there is, but thank you for having the conversations and for talking about it, because like you said, there's a lot of discomfort with dealing with it. And so the more that we can talk about it and normalize it and talk about death. I mean, one of the things I say to my clients, and people look at me, I'll be teaching this and people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, bring death closer. We should be talking about death a couple times a day. It should be front and center, because the cultures that do, when that lives within us, we make different choices. When it
Mhm.
seems that everything is guaranteed and, it's off somewhere in the distance, we take too many things for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've never really heard it put like that, bring death closer. But then when you explain what that means to you, I 1,000% agree. 1,000%. Yes. When you know that there's a clock, an expiration date, when you acknowledge that, or when it's in your face, you do look at things very differently, and your time becomes very different. It's your quality of time. is who you choose to spend those moments with, how you want to walk through life just becomes incredibly different. So I like that. I'm going to use that. Bring death closer. I think my mother just walked in my house. Hi, Mom.
Hi,
We're
Mom.
recording a podcast right now.
Hi, Mom. How crazy is that, by the way,
It's
that our
pretty
mums
crazy.
live in the same complex? That is
Yeah.
wild to me. I cannot wait to get them together.
I know. We will have to. We were supposed to do it this weekend. I got crazy, and then I didn't want to go out anywhere because I got Botox in my neck for the very first time.
Ooh.
Oh, what for? To relieve anything or just for like aesthetics?
And he bruised me. I had this like huge bruise on my neck, and I was like, I'm hiding. Now that I'm talking about it on your guys' podcast, but why not?
Why not?
I think just because, I'm starting to get those lines from looking at my phone or my iPad or whatever,
Totally.
or just from, being in my 50s. So
Age.
I started getting that, and the guy was like, "Oh, I'll just Botox it, and then it won't progress any worse."
Right. Yeah, it's prevention. It's good.
Right.
I see pictures of myself sometimes or whatever, and I see my neck and I go,
You do it for
Jesus
migraines.
Christ.
I do
Here,
it for
for
migraines.
migraines.
Yeah, I do it in my masseters. Hey, baby, you want to come with me, get some Botox? We'll do it in your neck.
No, I don't.
Could you ever imagine a day where he gets Botox? I cannot. There would never be a day.
No,
I convinced him once or twice to do like a little laser therapy, like for tightening on his skin, but he had a bit of a reaction.
The most I'll do is the laser tattoo removal. That is the most that I'll do.
Well, I don't know. That sounds intense. My favorite part was the video that you were sharing. You were doing some sort of treatment, and then there was needles involved, and you said,
that was,
and I passed out.
I had
passed out.
Is that from a PRP video?
Yeah. That was for hair growth.
When I had like the bloody scalp afterwards, and I was like, "Hey!" And it was like, "Oh my god, he's bleeding to death."
Horrendous.
That sounds gross. But the PRP is really good for your scalp, right?
Amazing.
It's really good for your scalp. Yeah.
I did it, and it helped me with filling because of years of bad extensions. I had just hair loss and also other things with operations and anesthetic, but it helped me regrow some of the thickness in my hair, which was amazing.
They basically take blood, they spin it, and then the golden, the plasma that's left at the top, they re-inject with special stem cells, and it reactivates.
Yeah.
See, I love these kind of conversations because I feel that there's a stigma attached to people who get Botox or get lasers or whatever. And to me, I wish I had known about this stuff when I was in my 20s, because I would have done every laser in the world and Botox just to prevent what's happened now in my 50s. And cancer obviously makes it worse because it sucks all the collagen out of your body.
Right.
I remember when we were shooting that you were
healthy.
dealing with that also.
It's
you
healthy.
were dealing with
My mom's the one that told me to do it, like in my 20s. She looked at me, she was like, because she's got really deep set frown lines in between her brows, the two that come straight up, and they're just always permanently there now. And she's the one that said to me, you have my frown lines, you need to go and get Botox in that so they don't become permanent. And I didn't believe her for a while. And then I, started going, other girls were going, and I was like, cool, I'll try it out. And thankfully I did. God bless her for normalizing it for me and it not being like, people also think that Botox is changing your face and filling it with things. It's not. It just paralyzes and helps prevent.
Right. It's not collagen or filler. It's
not a filler.
I'm also, I believe that everybody should do whatever makes them happy.
Agreed. Yes.
And if somebody thinks that the filler is going to make them younger and that makes them feel better about themselves, then they should do it. If getting a facelift, look at Jane Fonda. She looks freaking amazing. And she's honest about her facelift.
Yeah.
Like, who's her doctor? Because I need his number. There's just no reason if we have all of these tools at our disposal and it's going to make you feel good about yourself, why not use them?
I think the issue with it is the cost, right? I think it makes it so exclusive. Is that really the right word for it? But it doesn't allow everyone access to it. So really, it isn't. You have to be rich to be able to afford to do Botox and fillers and facelift. The other day, I was on TikTok because I have to try and grow my TikTok, and there was some ad that came up for a filter, like a beautiful, natural looking, just about the lighting filter. I was like, cool, let me try it. Girl, I looked like I was about to do a red carpet. Like, it was insane. And I'm pretty much in bed with no makeup on. It's wild what these filters do. I'm still not over it. It's such an oldish conversation. I know, like, oh, the filters, but it's like, for real, they're scary.
I was in the back seat of someone's car. We were driving one night, and she uses filters, and so she decided she was going to film everybody in the car, like, hey, we're out having a good time. She put the camera on me, and I looked like 40-year-old woman. I was like, what filter are you using right now? Take that off. Like, this is not.
I think it gave him like lashes even.
Yeah. I had lashes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had like
Some
fake
of them
freckles,
are
the
freaky.
whole thing. Yeah. It was a whole
crazy.
I like the animals, and I like to make up voices. It instantly brings me joy. Some
Yeah.
emoji, and then
Those
you can
are
just
fun.
it's
make
like
up
a
cartoon
panting
voices.
dog or ears or something like that.
Yeah,
Instant joy.
they're the
Will you
original
all
Snapchat
please
ones.
try it? Will you please try going and just making up a random voice for that animal? I kid you not, instant laughing and joy.
If you send me what app that is that does all of that, then yes,
Snapchat.
I'll do it, and then I'll send it back to you. I don't think I use any of those.
I'm going to get your number from Brian. I'm going to send you some sort of me doing an animal with a weird voice. Please don't judge me. And then you can send it back.
Deal.
You will always be my 12-year-old crush.
Aw.
And you will always be my 2-day fling that didn't work out. But I love you, and you will always be in my heart and one of my best friends. And thank you for being here. Thank you for sitting with the three of us. Thank you for suggesting in the first place when we put the call out there, like, I want to be on. It's amazing.
Thank you for having me on. You guys are awesome. I love your podcast, so I really did want to be on it. And Bri, thank you for doing mine earlier.
Of course.
All right. I love all you guys, and please
I
send
love
me
you too.
the pet thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going out with our moms.
We will.
Okay.
We're gonna have a lunch date very soon.
Okay.
Love you, Shannen.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes, you guys are amazing. Make sure you guys go and follow us on Instagram at @oldishpod. And you can also go and leave us a message at our own hotline, which is 855-OLDISH3.
Make sure and write us a review. Leave us 5 stars if you loved it. Leave us 5 stars if you didn't.
We love 5 stars. We love 5 stars.
Yeah.
You like 5 stars?
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next week, everyone.